Hi Wade, so I've already made you the host because we just finished the live stream.
Okay.
And okay, we're just gonna wait for the participants to come in. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. I'll start the recording back as soon as the first one comes in. Hi, Maria. You there, Maria? If you can hear me, there you are.
Yes.
Okay, hi, how are you today?
Hold on. Yes. Okay. Hello.
Yep. Okay, hey, Maria.
I
Okay.
saw you control down. Mute and unmute, whatever. Okay.
All right, good. So there's supposed to be 2 or 3 other people joining us, and they'll probably join us midstream here. At least hopefully another person or 2 will come in, but we're also live streaming the class. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with some of the preliminaries.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and I'm going to move the pictures over to the side screen. And hopefully you can see, can you see my slides now?
No, I don't know what's going on with this. Now I see that, the screen where it says, you see all that.
This is the introduction to smart homes.
No, I lost you. It's not there anymore.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me restart. Sometimes that'll bring it back. Okay, did that bring it back?
Mhm. No, I'm sorry, no.
What are you seeing?
Let me see.
Janet, are you there?
Okay. Okay, introduction to smart home.
Okay, you're
Mhm.
there. All right.
Okay, so it's, I'm the only one?
Janet just joined us. Hi, Janet. Can you hear
Yay.
us? Okay. You can go ahead and unmute if you want to. It's going to be a small class, so we'll just leave everybody unmuted if they want to.
I was going to eat my lunch though, too.
Okay, you can feel free to unmute and have your lunch, as long as you brought enough for everybody.
I'm just brand new on
Okay.
this. That's what I'm taking this class.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to, all right, like I said, I'm going to leave everybody unmuted, but if there's any background noise, I may have to mute. So if you have a question, just do check and make sure you're unmuted before you ask your question. And also opening the chat. So if you need to put anything into the chat, that will be open as well. But it sounds like both of your microphones are working, so that is good. And so we're going to get started. So this is Introduction to Smart Homes. I do want to thank you for attending. Hope you enjoy the class. A little bit about me. I'll be the guide for the class today. My name is Wade Yarborough, and I'm from a small town in West Tennessee called Mason, Tennessee, just outside of Memphis. I got my PhD in psychology at West Virginia University and have taught psychology off and on during my career, but most of my career has been installing and training users on hospital information systems, teaching a lot of doctors and nurses. So I've done a lot of adult education, but what I like about teaching here at Get Set Up is that I'm teaching people that are in the class because they want to learn about the topic, not because their employer made them attend the class. And which is what we try to do at Get Set Up, is to set up an environment where you can take classes around topics you're interested in with other people that are interested in the same topic, where you can hear each other's questions and talk to the guide directly. This session is being recorded, and you can request a copy of that recording after class. To do that, just email help@getsetup.io. And I'm going to put that in the chat. So if you don't already have that, you can copy that out of the chat. And speaking of the chat, Kim is here from our QA, our TA group at Get Set Up, and she'll be helping to monitor the chat and also available for any other class management issues that we may have. So thanks for joining us, Kim. This session is also being live streamed, and I do want to welcome anyone that's joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining as well, and hope you enjoyed the class. But I do want to stress that the only way to get that full Get Set Up experience where you can participate in the class, talk to the other learners, and talk to the guide is to go to our website and register for the class. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products we're going to be talking about today. We are purely trainers. So what are we going to cover today? We'll start off at a fairly broad level, talking about what smart homes are, what are the components of the smart homes, why do people want a smart home? And then we'll go through the steps involved in creating a smart home. And then we'll spend a good bit of the rest of the class covering all the different devices that you can use to make part of your smart home. And again, since we got a small class, please do ask questions and make comments as we're going along. We can make this very personal since it's a small class. Okay. Great. All right. So let's get started. What is a smart home? So a smart home is a residence equipped with what are called smart devices. And those smart devices are connected together through a wireless network. Okay. So what then is a smart device? And a smart device is a device that can be controlled by either a smartphone app, voice commands, or triggers such as timers, motion detectors, other smart home devices. So there are a number of ways to trigger these different smart devices, and we'll talk about how all that works in a little more detail as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
So why do people want a smart home? And there's several good reasons. You can actually save money with a smart home. If by using the smart home technology, you can turn thermostats down, turn lights off, use plugs to turn devices off and save electricity. And by doing that, save money. It can make your life simple. You can do a lot of the things automatically that you have to do manually now. And there are also some security and safety considerations. Turning lights on for you reduces risk of tripping on something and falling. Controlling locks and doors, having cameras that you can use can all make your home safer. And finally, and probably the biggest reason most people start doing this is because it's fun. If you like playing with technology, if you enjoy doing that, then there's a pretty good chance you're going to enjoy starting the road down to a smart home. So let's talk a little bit about what's called the smart home ecosystem. And the ecosystem is really the combination of a number of different components that are shown in this picture. So these are some of the components of a typical smart home. You've got your smart devices. So here's a camera, here's some different lights, here's some smart plugs. And they're all connected through a wireless network, as we were talking about it in the definition. There's two control components that always exist in a smart home. One is a smart home app on your smartphone, and then the wireless network hub, which is this device here. In this particular one, this is a Amazon Echo Dot device. There's several different devices that can be the hub, but pretty much all the other devices talk to the hub as well as talking to the smartphone app. Okay. And then these lines are the wireless network that connects everything. And you'll also notice that not only does everything talk to the phone and the hub, but they can talk to each other. That's where we were talking about one smart device can trigger another smart device. And again, I'll give you more examples of those sorts of things as we go along. But this is called an ecosystem. So let's talk about how you would create a smart home. And now that we know what an ecosystem is, the first thing you have to do is decide who's going to provide that ecosystem. And there are a number of choices, but there are three that are the most common ones that most people choose from today. And those are all big names that you recognize: Amazon, Google, and Apple. So those are the three we're going to focus on today. There are some others out there, but these are the most common. And some of the considerations in selecting which ecosystem you may want to go with, the first one is familiarity with that vendor already. So if you have an Amazon Alexa device already, that's part of that ecosystem. So you may want to go with Amazon, since having Alexa is already a start. That is your first smart device as well as the hub. If you're an all-in Apple person and you've got several Apple devices and you've been using Siri, Siri works the same as Alexa. You may want to go with Apple. If you've got a lot of Google products, and you may want to go with the Google ecosystem. They all do the same thing, but you have to select one, and then they don't interact. So if you decide to go with one, you need to buy all the components that work with that one vendor. Another consideration is the smart device selection options. If you don't have a strong preference for one of these, Amazon has the biggest selection of devices, probably of the three. So that's a consideration. Google's probably second and Apple third, but there's plenty of devices for any one of those ecosystems. So that's probably not a major consideration, but it is a consideration. And I'll show you later in the class how you can look at the different devices and figure out which ones work with which of these three ecosystems. Let me pause for questions to see if anybody has any questions so far. Great. If not, we'll keep going. And this will all probably get a little more concrete as we move through the class and I give you some specific examples. This is all a little conceptual at this point. But step two, now we've picked one of those ecosystem providers. You have to pick the device that's going to be the smart hub. And back in that picture, this is the smart hub. This is the piece that controls the other devices. And again, that is typically, historically, it has been a smart speaker. If you already have Alexa, you know what a smart speaker is. That's the Amazon Echo devices that work with Alexa. But Google and Apple both have smart speakers that work the same way. And if you have more than one smart speaker in your ecosystem, they'll work together. I have 3 different Echo devices. So it's not like you have to pick one of them to be the hub. They are actually co-hubs, if you will. They talk to each other, and then all of them talk to the other devices. So adding additional smart speakers is not a problem. It's probably a good thing, because then you can actually talk to your smart home from more places. Any place you've got a smart speaker, you can direct your smart home via your voice. Now, there are newer alternatives now, and they're called smart displays. And pretty much a smart display is the same as a smart speaker, but it has a display attached to it. And let's go ahead and look at some of these devices if you're not familiar with them, to hopefully make this a little more concrete. We'll go into Amazon first. And these are smart speakers. These are choice today from Amazon. The Echo Dot is the one that is the most economical way to get started. It only costs $30. Right now it's on sale. It's usually $50. So running some good prices right now, some good sales right now. And there's a couple of different variations. This is the starting point, but this is a speaker and a microphone. So you can talk to this device. Alexa can hear you and respond back to you. This one adds a clock to it, and this one has better speakers. And then you can go up into either higher quality speakers. Price starts to go up as you improve the quality of the speaker. When you're playing music, you get a better sound, but they will all do the same thing in terms of being the hub and controlling your smart home.
Do these speakers work like, the old fashioned speakers where you have one on one side and on the other? I mean, I have it, where you have the channels,
Yeah, these are individual speakers. So each one is the complete speaker. So you don't have a left and a right speaker. Yeah, that's a good question. They've kind of gone away from that now. They've got the quality of these things now where you get that same stereo sound from a single speaker. And these have amazingly good quality. In fact, I don't have one of these. I've got this is the 4th generation of the Echo Dot. I've got one of the 2nd generations. They used to call these the hockey pucks. They're smaller and flatter, and it has pretty good sound. And I've got 2 of the 3rd generations, which look like this, but they're cloth covered and a little bigger. And I think the sound is really good. These, I'm sure, have better quality sound than the ones I'm using. We play music all the time through them. But, if you really have a fine ear, you can bump up to a larger speaker.
So if you had speakers in various parts of your house, the music could be everywhere. It would come out of every speaker. I mean, if you were listening to music.
Yeah, you have that choice, and we'll talk a little bit later about how you can set up groups. So if you've got, but you can just have a single one playing, you can have all of them playing, or you can group them together. Let's say you got 2 upstairs and 2 downstairs. You could have the 2 upstairs ones play together. And then when you move downstairs, you can have the 2 downstairs ones playing together. So there's all sorts of ways to group these things together. Yeah. Now, this is the smart display. This is kind of the newer version. And this one, I think, shows what it is best, because this one does look like a speaker with a tablet attached to it. And that's what it is. The smaller ones, it's not quite as obvious, but these have speakers and as well as microphones, as well as the tablet. They're just smaller. This is a 5-inch, 8-inch. This is a 10-inch. And the advantage of this is that, not only can you talk to your controller, whether it's Amazon, Google, or Apple, and it can talk back to you, but you can actually see things. So for example, if you have a smart doorbell and it has a camera on it, if somebody's at your door, you could look at this display and see a picture who's at the door. If I just have the smart speaker, it can tell me someone's at the door. And you can typically talk to that person through the smart doorbell and say, okay, what's your name? Who are you? But if you want to see their picture, you would have to use your phone. And you could do that. You can use your smartphone to see who's at the door. But that's the advantage of the smart display. And as you can see, it's a little more expensive than just the speakers. And you can mix and match. You can have one smart display and 2 speakers, so they do mix and match. And that's true of the other. In fact, let's go look at a couple of the others. Here's Google. And these are the Google products. So here's the Google Nest Audio. This is their larger speaker. And here's their display. So very much like we saw with Amazon, this is a smaller version up here, a smaller speaker. So they've got the same options. And if we go to Apple, again, the same options. They've got a HomePod Mini, which is like the Echo. It's a little more expensive. And then the larger high fidelity version is called the HomePod. And for Apple, most people, for the display, they use an iPad. I don't think Apple has a dedicated display device, but the iPad works like a display. So that's, if you happen to have an older iPad, you've upgraded and you still got the old one, it works great for a hub in your smart home. Nice way to recycle some of the older technology, because you don't need some of the same advanced features for that hub. Is that making sense? Questions?
Is the Google Nest the same thing as Mini Mini Nest?
There's a lot of Nest products. In fact, Nest was a separate company that Google bought. And so now they're all under Google. It's like, here's a Nest thermostat, and here's the Nest speaker. This is, some other products that Google has under that whole line. There's a doorbell. So, but here's the Nest Mini. I think you were talking about. This is like the smaller Amazon Echo. So this is the small version of their speaker. This is the large version of their speaker. So all three of them have a small version and a large version. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very similar. So, sometimes it's kind of hard to pick which ecosystem vendor to go with because they're very similar.
Your slide says Google Next, not Nest.
Oh, that is a typo. I'm glad you
okay?
caught that.
All right.
That's what I was confused.
Ah.
Because I said, oh, I thought it was Nest.
I'm going to fix that after class. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you, Johnny.
I always notice misspelled words and I wonder what I should tell people.
I always appreciate that because I am a horrible proofreader because I know what it's supposed to say. So I see what it's supposed to say instead of what it does say. So thank you for pointing that out. All right. So let's go into step 3. So now we've picked our ecosystem supplier. We've picked our hub. Now we get to pick all the devices. And this is kind of where the fun stuff starts to come in. And there's lots of choices to start building your smart home. Lots of people start with the less expensive and the easier ones, and that's things like lights or light switches and plugs and power strips. Those are very easy to install. They're pretty inexpensive to purchase and give you lots of flexibility. Next step up are things like cameras, doorbells, and door locks. And we'll talk about all of these in terms of how they work and look at some of the options for buying those a little bit later. But one thing you have to be careful with, the capitalized, however, you have to make sure that the device that you pick works with your smart home ecosystem. So if you've picked Apple as your ecosystem vendor, you have to be careful when you buy your light switch that light works with Apple. It may only work with Amazon, or maybe it only works with Google, or maybe it works with all three. So you can't assume just because it says smart that it's going to work with all three ecosystems. And again, I'll show you how you can check as you're purchasing things. And what most people do is start slow and build. They may start with I started with just 4 light bulbs. I've added some plugs after that, and I've added some cameras. So you can just kind of build it slowly as you have time, interest, and money. If you want to go all in at once, you can design and install all your devices at one time. But most people like the slow and gradual approach. And then the last step is making everything work together, which is what I say where the magic happens. Because you can control each one of those devices individually, but where a smart home really gets smart is when you start to group devices together. And we talked about this a little bit already, where you can have, you can group your speakers to where they work together. You can do the same thing with other parts. I'll show you how I've done this, but I have 3 smart lights in my kitchen. I can control each light individually, but I also have them put into a group called kitchen lights. So if I say turn on kitchen lights, it turns on all 3 of them. I don't have to say turn on light 1, turn on light 2, turn on light 3. That's what grouping does. And then you can create what some of the vendors call routines, some call scenarios. They're the same thing, but it's how you can actually create a flow of commands. And if, for example, you could have a routine that says, when I open the garage door, unlock the house, turn on the foyer lights, turn on the living room lights, turn up the heat, and start playing my favorite music. So when I walk in the door from the garage, the lights are on, the house is warming up, and my music is playing. So instead of having to do each one of these things individually, the routine triggers a series of things when the first one happens. Does that make sense?
How
I'll
you
give
do
you
that?
more examples of those. All right, let's keep digging down. We're kind of starting at a high conceptual level, and we're going to get very granular and concrete before we're done. So let's show you some of that right now. I'm going to slide this over so you can see my smartphone here. Can everybody see my phone okay?
Mhm.
And this is an iPhone, but I'm using the Amazon ecosystem. So I'm going to go into the Amazon Alexa app. So we mentioned that you always have your smartphone app that controls it, as well as your hub, which is your smart speaker or your smart display. So I'm going to launch Amazon Alexa app. And from here, we're going to start with devices, and it's right here. And again, this is just for instance, if you used Google or Apple, it works extremely similar. It doesn't look exactly the same, but you'd be doing exactly the same steps. The screens would just look a little different. But devices is where you can go in and see all the devices you have. It groups them in different categories. So it has all your Echo devices and Alexa enabled devices. These are basically your smart speakers and your smart displays. Your lights. So if I clicked on lights, it'll show me all the lights that I've got. If I click on plugs, it'll show me the plugs that I've got, etc. If I go and buy a new device, I would just click on that plus up here to add a new device. And you first tell it, what are you doing? This just says I want to put something new. So it's first saying, what do you want to add? A device, a group, or a combination of speakers? In this case, maybe I went out and bought a new device. Then it says, what type of device did you buy? A light, a plug, a switch, a camera, a lock, a garage door opener. Let's say I bought a garage door opener. Then it asks you, what brand was it? And it kind of walks you through, as you can see, the whole installation process. In most cases, you have to download an app. So in this case, if this was a Genie garage door opener, my next step would be to download the app, and I can click there and do that and go ahead and set that up. So it's fairly simple, and they all do a good job of walking you through that. Again, it tells you what the steps are. Download the app, set up the garage door opener, come back to Alexa and click next again, and it hooks up to Alexa. Since I don't really have a device here, that's as far as I can go. But I mentioned the groups. Let me go back into the lights and show you again how that works. So I mentioned I've got 3 lights in the kitchen. I can control any of those lights individually from my phone. One of the 2 ways to control your smart home is the phone. So if I wanted to turn that kitchen light off, it's currently on right now, I could just click there. And it's now off. If I want to turn it on, I can click there and turn it back on again. But if I want to turn on all the kitchen lights, instead of having to go in and click one and then click this one and then click this one, I can just turn on the group kitchen and it turns on all the kitchen lights. Doesn't turn on the bedroom light. I only have 1 in the bedroom so far, but I can add more to that group as well.
Do the smart light bulbs work in all light bulb sockets? I mean, the ones in the ceiling, the ones in your lamps.
Yep, you have to buy the right base, just like if you were buying a dumb light. But yeah, as long as it screws into the receptacle, it will work. Exactly. And then you can do all as well. So if I want to turn on all the lights in the house, I could click up there. All the lights are on. If I want to turn all the lights off, I can click there. And now everything is turned off. So that's kind of how groups work. And I can do the same thing with my voice. Let me just to show you. I can talk to Alexa from my phone as well as from my smart speakers. So I can say, Alexa, turn on kitchen lights.
Okay.
If I go back to my devices now, you can see the kitchen lights have been turned on. The bedroom light is still off. So I can tell her to control any of these devices. If I say, Alexa, turn on first light, it'll turn that one on, none of the others. I can do the same thing with my plugs. I've got 2 different plugs. I've got them in a group called heaters because they were controlling the heaters in my office and sunroom when the weather was a little cooler. I don't need them much anymore now. But I could turn either one of these on individually. I could turn on the whole group, or I could turn on all the plugs. So that's how the grouping works. Makes it much easier. Now, the other thing we talked about that you can do is routines. So let me show you a couple of sample routines. And again, I'm fairly early in my home automation as well. I have a ton of things, but I'm going to click down here and more on the Alexa. And here's routines. And I'll show you 2 different types of routine to kind of show you how it works. So I've got one that's controlled by an event, and this is called sunset lights. And the way the routines work, there's a trigger event. And so on this one says, and so it says, when do you want me to execute this routine? And the answer is at sunset. So your hub is smart enough to know what time sun is going to set today. And when that time is reached, it automatically executes this routine. In this case, it turns on all the lights in the house. So it powers up everything. I could just turn on the kitchen lights or just turn on the bedroom light, but I have it turning on all the lights. So if I'm out somewhere and get home later than I thought, the lights are going to be on when I get home. So I don't have to say anything or touch my phone. This just happens automatically. So there's lots of different events you can use to start routines. You can do it at a certain time of day. You can even do it by location because your smartphone has GPS. So you could actually have a routine that says, when I get home, turn on the foyer lights and unlock the door. You have to let it know where your home is. And so when GPS says you've arrived at that location, that triggers a routine to start. So routines can be very, very flexible and very helpful. Questions about any of that stuff before we move on? Hopefully I'm whetting your appetite for the different things these you can do with a smart home. All right. So let's get to the fun part here, the devices. And we've talked about some of these already, but let's dig in. And smart lights is where most people start because they're easy. You don't have to, they're simple to install, and they're relatively inexpensive. As we mentioned already, they'll work in any outlet that you could plug any other light into. Some of them will dim, some of them won't. I didn't call that out, but in my routine, when I turned on the lights at sunset, it turned them on at only 33%. So if your lights will dim, you can tell them to turn it on at 33% at sunset. And then when I get home, I'll kick them up to 100%. And we've talked already about these routines and things you can do. So let's talk about how this works. And let's start with the Philip Hue white bulb 4-pack. This is what I bought and installed. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to take me to Best Buy. And let me show you how this works. So here's the 4-pack. It's $50, and these are LED bulbs. So that's not much more than you would pay just for a normal 4-pack of LED bulbs. But these are smart bulbs. They have a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connected to them. I forget if it's Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. You don't have to worry about it. It has a way to communicate over the network. And I just unplug the old bulb and plug the new bulb in. But I mentioned you have to always check to make sure it works with your ecosystem. So what I like about Best Buy is they make it very clear. They typically have something that says compatibility. So I'll click this and it says it works with Amazon Alexa. It works with Google Assist. These don't work with Apple, but they work with the other 2. Now, if I have Apple and I want these bulbs, I do have an option. I'm going to go back and look at the other one, and it's called the Philip Hue Starter Kit. And the only difference is that it has the same 4 bulbs that the other one had, but it also has this little mini hub, I'll call it. And so since these light bulbs can't talk directly to the Apple hub, but this mini hub can, so the light bulbs will talk to the mini hub will talk to my Apple controller, my Apple hub, and everything works fine. It just adds one more step in the process, adds a little cost. It's twice as much, so you're paying $50 for that hub, but you only need one. I could put in another 10 bulbs, and this one little mini hub would control all of my Philips light bulbs.
I have a question about using the internet. I mean, with all of these gadgets, you know, all over, I mean, you have problems with, I don't even know what the word is, buffering or what, you know, or spots in your house where your internet doesn't work as well? I seem to have a spot in my house where the internet doesn't work quite as well.
That can be an issue. A couple of issues there that you bring up. I'll mention. You know, one is that, and there's several different wireless networks that are used, and that kind of gets beyond you know, what we're going to get to in this class. But there's 4 different wireless networks, and so sometimes if one of them isn't working, it'll use a different one to get to you. But in most cases, you do have the safest thing is to make sure you do have Wi-Fi. Most of them do use Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that could be a possibility that you could, you know, especially if you're putting one down in the back side of the garage, or certainly if you go out in the backyard, it's not going to work because your network probably isn't going to go out into the backyard. So that's one thing you do need to check. Yeah. And the other thing where I thought you were heading, because this question always comes up, is what happens if my router goes down and I don't have any Wi-Fi? And they all have an override. So in this case, if I plug these into the socket where my regular light was, I just go to the wall switch and turn it on and off with the wall switch I was using before. So you can still do it old school if your smart bulb isn't working. So it'll work just like a regular bulb if your Wi-Fi's down.
I have a lamp that uses 2 light bulbs, and I have a Google Assistant, mini assistant, or whatever you call it.
Uh-huh.
But I was told that if the lamp has 2 light bulbs, I cannot use those smaller light bulbs, and I cannot program with the mini net. Is it true?
I would be surprised if that's the case. I've got 3 in the kitchen. Those 3 that I've got are all in one light fixture.
Oh, really?
It's one of those dangling lights, you know, where you have 3 lights that dangle, but they all go up into the same outlet, and I can control them separately. So, I mean, unless there's something specific about your, and the one in the bedroom, it has a room for 2 lights. One of them is a smart light, the other one isn't, but it works having just the one there. So I can't say it's wrong, but I would try it, because you can always use the light bulb somewhere else if it doesn't work in that light. But I haven't found a place yet that I've tried to put it that it didn't work. But, you know, certainly there's always special circumstances, so I can't say for sure it would.
But I noticed that the setting for Alexa is different than Google Assistant.
Well, these work with both.
I mean, it's like, well, it's a little, it seems like it's easier Alexa, but now I'm stuck with the Google.
Yeah. Now, the main thing you have to do is check, and with this hub, and we'll come down here to compatibility again. By adding that hub, it now works with Apple and Google and Alexa. So I got my Apple working by using the hub, but if I don't want to get the hub, and let me go, I'm trying to get back to where I was. Here's just the lights by themselves, and they do work with Google Assistant. And there's your mini hub right there, your Nest Mini. So from everything I can see, it should work.
I have to try.
Yeah, try it. And, you know, like I said, worst case, you can either use the light bulb somewhere else, or you can take them back if they don't work. But
I don't know if I'm going to jump up in the class, but can you connect this one with the TV?
Yes, a lot of the new smart TVs, if it's a smart TV, it will
Mhm.
work. It could work. Again, you got to check and see if your smart TV works with your ecosystem, because they don't all work with everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, that is a very common part as well. The smart TVs are starting to be a real common one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about some more here. Kind of keep an eye on the time here. You can also do a smart switch. In this case, it's a wall switch. Looks like a regular wall switch, but it's a smart wall switch. A couple of advantages and disadvantages of a wall switch is that if I've got 6 lights controlled by one light switch, I can buy one smart switch to control all those dumb bulbs instead of buying 6 bulbs. So it could be a lot cheaper. The downside is, since this connects to your home's wiring, unless you're comfortable, you know, doing that wiring yourself, unwiring the old switch and wiring in a new switch, you'd have to hire an electrician to come and do that, which could eat up all your savings. But that's another option. I'll just click into here and show you this one. So this is it's $14.99. So again, if I could control 6 lights with the $14.99 smart switch, instead of buying 6 bulbs, which would probably cost me more like $80, it could be some savings. And when my wireless is down, I can just click it like a regular light switch and it still works like a manual light switch. The next option, which again, a lot of people start with, is smart plugs. And you can see a picture here of the smart plug, and it just plugs into the electrical outlet, and then you plug your device into it. This is the ones I was using for my portable heaters. It has an override on the side. So if the wireless is down, I can click here to turn it on manually, as opposed to using the smart plug. So these are handy. You can plug anything into here you want to plug in. So I could plug in a lamp, I could plug in a fan, I could plug in a heater. These are fairly inexpensive as well. This is $18.99 for a smart plug. And again, I'm going to keep doing this just to grind it in, but come down here. Now, it doesn't always say compatibility. Sometimes it just says specifications. But if I click in the specifications, it will tell me right here, works with Amazon, Apple, and Google. So it works with any of the 3 we're talking about. What may be a smarter option, if you, depending on how your things are set up, is to get a smart power strip. And with the smart power strip, it's hard to say. I could actually plug in 6 things. I've got 3 regular outlets, and I've got 3 USB outlets. If I plug in something that works off a USB, and I can control each of these individually. So I could say, turn on this one, or turn on this one, or I could group them together and say, turn on all of them. So in this case, I could plug in 6 devices for the price of 1 power strip, which is $20. So again, a fairly economical way to get started.
That's good.
Home security.
That's what I want. I want to start with security.
Yeah.
Home security
is my
cameras.
number one. And I'm trying to change my security system over to Simply Safe. So
yeah, I've got a slide on that. I'll try and get to that one. But yeah, there's lots and lots of security cameras out there. Some of the considerations as you're looking for them, which affects the prices, they go from anywhere from, they've got them as cheap as probably $25 up to $150. And it's difference depends on a lot of the options, whether you want motion detection alone. Do you want motion detection plus sound detection? So the ones with sound detections, if a window breaks or doors knock that down, it'll trigger it. So it can, the cheaper ones only have motion detection. They'll all record for a period of time after it detects the motion, but you can actually turn it on to record 24/7. So if you're going to be gone for several days, you wanted to record 24/7 while you're gone, you can do that. You're probably going to have to stream it to the cloud. Pretty soon you'll exceed the capacity of the recording memory of that device, but certainly the better ones have an option to stream it to the cloud, which there may be a charge for that as well. And you can, all those you can view if you got it, that smart display. You can actually see it on your smart display. If not, you can see it on your smartphone. So if you get an alert from your smart home saying this detected activity in the living room, you can get out your smartphone and have it display on the smartphone. You can see what's going on down there. If you got a smart display, you can see it right from that smart display. But look at a couple of these. Again, another consideration, whether they're wireless or wired. If they're wireless, you can just set it anywhere. It's nicer, makes it more expensive though. Let's go into this one. And this one's only $35 and it is wireless. And again, we'll just do our normal check. Go into specifications and it works with Amazon and Google. Doesn't work with Apple. And it uses Wi-Fi. They'll typically tell you what wireless it's using. So this way, if you know it's using Wi-Fi and you want to put it in a corner of your house and you know there's no Wi-Fi connection over there because you can take your phone over there and you don't have Wi-Fi, you know that that camera's not going to work there. But lots of different ones. So that's the other thing you need to do is when you're here at Best Buy, you can just search for smart cameras. And there are a ton of them going up to, well, that's $500. That's for a 4-pack. So you can see lots of variations in the prices. There's $300 for a 2-pack. But they got different functions and features. Another consideration is indoor versus outdoor. We're going to talk about outdoor security cameras in a minute, but if you're going to put it outside, you need to make sure it's rated for outdoors. I made that mistake. I took an indoor rated one and put it outside. It died in about 3 months. So you do need to have, there had to be a little more rugged to put them outside. I've talked about smart doorbells. They are really popular now. And for good reason. Back to the security thing that I think Janet was talking about. You can see who's at the door. So, and a lot of them will detect motion as well. So they can actually tell that somebody's walked up on your porch. If they don't, someone would push to ring the doorbell. But when they push the doorbell, you can look in the camera, see who's out there. Most of them have microphones and speakers. So you can say, okay, yes, who are you? What do you want? And talk to them from your phone or from your Alexa or your smart speaker.
What about unlocking the door and letting people in?
They won't do that, but we're going to get there in just a second. But yeah, that's linking in another piece. Some of them will do, especially the more expensive ones. Again, the more you pay, the more you get. But you can actually program people's faces so it'll recognize the person's face. So if your brother Bob, you want to program his face when he walks up, it will actually tell you Bob's at the door. So it not only recognizes detection and there's somebody there, it checks through its list of known faces. And if it finds the person, it'll tell you who's at the door. I just found this one yesterday. Most of these are about $150, $200, but they're getting cheaper. And this is one that's only $80. May not have all the bells and whistles of some of the other ones, but that's a really good price. It's the cheapest one I found. It was actually in a list of best products. So that's a good.
Is it easy to install it?
What was that?
Is it easy to install it, or I have to hire somebody?
That's a consideration because some of them are wireless and battery operated, so you can stick it anywhere.
Oh.
Some of them have to be wired into the electrical system where your old doorbell was, and that is one thing about this one. It's not wireless. It isn't battery operated. You do have to hook it into the wireless, so you'd have to pay an electrician to plug it in. But at the price difference, let me show you one of the top of the line ones. This is the Google Nest, which will definitely work with your Google system. But this one's $230. So you can see big differences. You have to do a little homework, look at the what this one does, what the other one does, decide where you want to fall in that price category. So anywhere from $80 to $220, you can find them.
Since these devices are outside, do people just take them, steal them off your front door? And
They could, of course, if they do that, you've got their picture, so you can see who did it and give that to the police, because that's one of the nice things about these. They stream 24/7. You can set them to stream 24/7. So you could also see if your neighbor came and took your Amazon package off the porch and stole it. So it's basically streaming what's happening all the time.
Okay.
Another nice security feature.
Okay, let's say I have the smart doorbell. Do I need a code or a key, or how do I get in?
Well, it has nothing to do with your door. That's just your doorbell. Let's go to the next one, and we're about to run out of time here. But
The lock.
we talked about outdoor cameras already. Let's talk about door locks.
Yeah.
Because that's the part that, so if you combine a smart doorbell with a smart door lock, that's when you can, now just by itself, a smart door lock does lots of things for you. You can unlock it just with a voice command. So, or with your phone. So when you're coming, if you pull into your driveway, if you want to unlock your door from your car, you can do that. If you're in the house and somebody comes up and you look out the window and see who it is, you can say, Alexa, unlock the door, or hey, Google, unlock the door. And you can control it with your voice.
I didn't understand.
We already mentioned that it can be tied into other devices. I kind of gave the scenario where when the garage door opens, you can have it unlock the door automatically. But with the doorbell, someone comes up to the doorbell, it recognizes that it's Bob. Your smart home says Bob's at the door. You can say, Alexa, unlock the door, and it unlocks the door. You can tell Bob through the speaker, hey, Bob, the door's open, come on in. So that's where you can have the camera from your smart doorbell working with your door lock to do lots of things.
when you talk to Nest, what do you call them? I mean, you say, Alexa, can I do this? What do you say when it's a Google Nest?
Hey, Google.
Hey, Google. Okay.
And with Apple, it's Hey, Siri.
Yeah.
The other things that's nice here is that it will auto detect when the door is not closed. So you can have it say that if the door is open for more than X minutes, 3 minutes, it will alert you and say your front door is open. So if maybe you didn't close the door good and the wind blew it open, it'll let you know that it's open. And you can use smart keys. So you can basically put a smart key and give it to someone else to put on their phone. So if you have a family member or a cleaning service, instead of having to make a key for them, you can give them a smart key. That way, if you switch cleaning services, you can disable their smart key. You don't have to get that physical key back, and you don't have to worry about them making copies of your
Is there a lock you could put like on your gate to your backyard?
These are all using deadbolts. So it depends on what kind of gate you've got. In fact, let's go in and look at one of these. August is what everybody says is the best one. It's not real cheap, but it's not that bad either for everything you're getting. It's $200. You can get them on sale. Well, it actually is on sale right now. It's $47 off. It was $250. But the way it works, let me come down here to the picture here. It just hooks onto your deadbolt. So you normally got the bolt that you turn. It's got a little thing you put over the top of it, and there's a little motor in there. So the motor turns that lock.
Okay.
So any kind of lock that has that thing you would turn normally with your hands, you could use your smart lock on it. And of course, you can, since it doesn't replace your existing lock set, your key that you had before still works. If your Wi-Fi's down, you can still open your door with your key. So that's your backup. You don't have to replace the whole lock set. All right. So we have run out of time. This has been a great class, and you've asked lots of good questions, but we are 2 minutes.
Great info. It's really good. Thank you, Wade.
Yes.
Me and Maria. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
And I think we covered everything. The only thing we didn't cover, and we've talked about this already, is a smart garage door opener. We kind of talked
Don't have one.
about it. So I do want to thank you for attending. I hope you enjoyed the class, and that you learned a lot of things about smart homes, and we'll give it a try. Get at least to start with some of those smaller, cheaper things and work your way into the more expensive ones. Some related classes, if you're on the Amazon side, we do have a couple of Amazon Alexa classes. We don't have the Google class yet, but I'll tell you how you could ask for that. So let me go to the closing slides quickly, and I'm going to try and get you out of here in time for your next class. After class, you'll get an email with some class notes in it. In that, part of those notes will be links to some other sites. So I'll have links to a website that reviews a lot of these devices, and it'll compare them, tell you the pros and cons, and lots of good information about all the different devices. There's some devices we didn't talk about that are in there. So take a look at those links in that email and look at those, especially the ones talking about devices. If you want to recommend the class to a friend, you can do that by clicking the link to Facebook or clicking a link and sending it via email. There'll be links to 3 other classes you might want to take, as well as a link. If you click give feedback, it will take you to our feedback page where you can rate the class 1 to 5 stars, rate the guide 1 to 5 stars, 2 clicks and you're done. There is a place to put comments. We hope you do add comments. Comments are greatly appreciated, but they're not required. And the last link here in the email is to view schedule, which takes you to our website where you can book another class.
Thank you.
Very quickly, the easiest way to find a class is to just search by name. So again, if you're looking for those Alexa classes, you can just type Alexa. If you're looking for, we have lots of Google classes around other things. If you're looking for Gmail classes, you can type Gmail. It'll show you our Gmail classes. If you're new to Gmail, get started with Gmail. We'll take you right into that class. And the last thing, since I'm already 1 minute over, if there's a guide or guides that you like their classes and you want to see what else they're teaching, just put their name in that same search box, hit enter, and it'll show you the classes they're going to be teaching. In fact, I'm teaching a class on privacy later today, and it's chronological. It'll take you through their classes over the next 2 weeks. Okay, so I have run over by 1 minute, so I do want to go ahead and stop. So if you're trying to get to another class, you can get there. But thanks
Thank
again
you.
for coming.
Thanks, Wade.
And hope I see you again in another class soon.
Oh, you will.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.